I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 225, Non-Negotiables. If your husband is struggling with a pornography problem and you want some help with it and you are not finding the resources that you like, you are in the right place. My name is Jolene Wynn. I am a certified life coach. I am an active member of the LDS faith, and I am the wife of a former porn addict. And on this podcast, I am going to share with you the tools that you need in order to start your healing journey. This is where I'm going to show you how to dive deep into intentional living, how to rekindle connection with your spouse, how to manage all that emotional turmoil that you're feeling, how to break the addiction cycle that you have to your husband's addiction, and tell you all of the ways to do that and start healing. I am so glad that you're here, and I can't wait to get started. Let's go. Hello, my ladies. Good morning. How are you? I hope you guys had a great week. I had a beautiful week. We took our kids on an impromptu trip to the beach. We were sitting around talking to them last Monday, and they reminded us that we hadn't been to the beach yet this summer, which is ridiculous because we only live an hour and a half from the beach. So we were looking at our schedule, and I said, let's go tomorrow. So on Tuesday, we went to the beach. It was beautiful. The kids had so much fun and were covered in sand, but it was such a fun little trip. We just went with our little family and it was so sweet. And I just got to hang out with Rob and chat with him the entire time and watch my kids play. And that is my favorite thing. My kids are talking to me afterward. One of them, I don't remember which one it was, said, Mom, did you have fun today? And I said, yes. And they were like, well, you didn't even, build sandcastles or go boogie boarding. And I said, that's okay. My very favorite thing is to watch you guys play. And so I had the best day. It was so much fun. And then, of course, September 11th is so beautiful. My family, I always take my little kids to a little memorial for 9/11. I climb stairs at the gym and I just think about 9/11. I pulled out a book that I actually made when I was maybe 13 or 14 and all about 9/11. And I read it with my kids, and it was just really a beautiful day, and it's been a great week. So, and then, this was the other thing that was super fun, was last Thursday, I had my live event on how to break free from your husband's pornography problem, and I went over the 3 lies that are keeping you stuck. And then I realized that there was a 4th lie that came to me the day before I did it, and it blew my own mind. And it was such a powerful call, and I was so grateful for all of you guys who registered, all of those who came. For those of you who registered, the replay is still up. You get access to that. Go watch it. It was sensational. Okay. And for those of you who missed it, I have something else for you guys coming up. I know there are so many of you guys who struggle with getting triggered. So many of you guys, I thought of you so much when I was at the beach, of so many of you who struggle, who don't want to go to the beach because of what other people might be wearing, or struggle going to the gym, or struggle going somewhere on your own, leaving your husband to go on a trip because you're worried about what might happen when you're gone. This is you getting triggered, and I have decided to teach a masterclass to help you through this. I am teaching a masterclass. It's called How to Eliminate Triggers. And it's going to be Monday, September 30th through Wednesday, October 2nd at 12 p.m. Eastern. I will put all the link to that in the show notes so that you can go register for it, okay? This is a masterclass where I am going to teach you not only what triggers are, I am going to teach you how they happen, why they're happening, and I'm going to teach you how to eliminate them. Because the truth is, you don't have to live a life with triggers. And I think that is one of the things that we don't fully understand or even think is possible, but I want to teach you how to do it. Please go sign up for that masterclass, and I will see you there. Okay, ladies, let's dive in today to your non-negotiables. This is something that I hear a lot, especially with my own clients when we're coaching. We think we have certain non-negotiables in our relationship, in our life, right? Things like, I'm going to leave if he has an affair, right? Whatever we think this is my hard line in the sand. This is the thing that I will not tolerate or put up with. This is it, okay? That's our non-negotiable. This is the thing that I am not willing to compromise on, right? If he lies to me one more time, I'm moving out, okay? These are the things that we tell ourselves. Now, you might have a non-negotiable in your mind, Maybe it's one that you have subconsciously had your entire life. Maybe it is one that you just feels really true to you. The thing that comes up with my clients a lot is they have one about him having an affair. That seems to be very common. But whatever it is for you, just ask yourself, is there something where my brain says, all right, this is it. This is my hard line in the sand. This is the thing that I'm not willing to budge on, okay? And here's what I want to offer with that. I want you guys to think about that for just a minute. And then I want to offer you this. The truth is, ladies, is that we don't know what we will do until we are in that situation. We don't. We might think we know. We might project, or we might have a guess based on our morals, right? Or based on our past experience, but we don't always know what we would do, okay? And today I want to talk about why this is so important to recognize and understand, okay? Because if having a non-negotiable in your mind is helpful and it's giving you ease or comfort, great, keep it, okay? But here's what I see most often. Most often with non-negotiables, they aren't actually giving anyone peace or comfort. They're actually doing the exact opposite, okay? Because then what happens that I see so often is that you end up living in fear of it happening. You end up living in fear of him relapsing again, catching him in a lie, him having an affair. Whatever it is that you're non-negotiable, you live in fear of it because you don't actually want the result that you think you will do if it happens, right? Does this make sense? You don't actually want to get divorced. I have coached so many women on this, women who are so afraid of him relapsing again or having an affair, and we get down to it and they say, because I am afraid that then we'll get divorced. And then they don't actually want to get divorced. And I have to remind them that they still get to choose. Okay? Now, here's the problem with this. The reason why they're living in fear of him doing whatever behavior they don't want him to do is because they think that then if he does that behavior, then they have to take a certain action, right? If he has an affair, I have to get divorced because that's my non-negotiable, right? But the problem is they don't recognize that the reason they're so afraid of this happening is that they're afraid of what it would mean about them if they didn't have the non-negotiable. Okay, stay with me. I know this is a lot, okay? Here's what I mean by this. Let me do some examples, okay? If you think that, if you have a thought, right, that an affair, him having an affair means that you have to get divorced or that you should get divorced, then we often attach that to making it mean something about yourself, right? So if you think that, all right, if he has an affair and I get divorced, that means that I know what I deserve and that I'm respecting myself, right? If that's what you think it means, great. That sounds really nice. It sounds really responsible. It sounds like something most women would agree with, right? If you put that on the internet, most women would be like, absolutely. If that turd has an affair, absolutely you should leave. You deserve more. You should respect yourself more. Don't stay with somebody who has cheated on you because that's not respectful to yourself. I mean, all you have to do is just listen to me and you're like, oh yeah, I've heard that before, right? Here's the problem with that, ladies. Is that if you make that mean that, if you make an affair mean that you have to get divorced because that means that that's what's respecting yourself and that's what you deserve, the problem with that is that if an affair does happen, if he does cheat on you, and you actually discover that you want to stay with him and work it out, then you will subconsciously make it mean that you're not respecting yourself and not giving yourself what you deserve. And that's a terrible place to sit emotionally, and you're not going to want to do it. So if subconsciously we have attached beliefs, if you've attached meaning to the behavior that you think you will do or take when the non-negotiable happens, that's why you're going to live in fear of it happening. Do you guys see what I'm saying? I hope this is making sense. Are you guys still with me? We're afraid of what we would make it mean if we stay. We're afraid of what we would make it mean if we leave. And that is why we're actually afraid of the non-negotiable happening. I'm afraid that he would have an affair and then we would get divorced. Why? Because I don't actually want to get divorced. Well, guess what, ladies? You don't have to. And this is why I want to offer that you don't have to have a non-negotiable ahead of time. Now, that doesn't mean that you're just going to put up with all kinds of behavior and nonsense. That is not what I'm saying. That is what boundaries are for, okay? So let's do an example of that, okay? Non-negotiables, right, are something you can have a boundary around, okay? Let's do an example that's not as intense as having an affair, right? Let's say your non-negotiable is him yelling, right? It's like, well, I don't tolerate him yelling at me. That's my non-negotiable, okay? You can call it a non-negotiable if you want. Sounds very heavy to me when you do. What I want to offer instead is that you just have a boundary, okay? And here's what that looks like. A boundary is something that you put in place for yourself that you have control of to keep yourself emotionally protected, okay? If you guys can go back and listen to podcast episodes that I've done on boundaries, I have one on that. Just go listen to it. There's one 100 years ago called Boundaries versus Consequences. And I think I've done another one on boundaries. And then I have a masterclass on boundaries, and you should go take it. I'll put the link to that in the show notes as well. It's called How to Set Boundaries. I guarantee you're doing it wrong, but let's do an example, right? So let's say, again, you don't tolerate him yelling at you. Okay, well, a boundary would just be telling yourself, all right, if he starts to yell at me, I will leave the room. I will walk away. I will inform him that I am not interested in continuing the conversation while he's yelling, and I will excuse myself from the conversation. Okay, a boundary is something that you put in place to keep yourself emotionally safe. And oftentimes we think that in those scenarios that our brain thinks are non-negotiables, him relapsing, him lying one more time, him having an affair, whatever it is, our brain thinks that we need to have something more than a boundary. And I want to offer that you don't necessarily need that, okay? Here's what I want to offer instead, okay? Instead of having just this list of non-negotiables, this list of, well, if he ever had an affair, I would leave. Ladies, I did this, okay? I did this when I first got married. I definitely thought, and I'm going to talk about this in just a minute, I definitely had this thought, and I remember having conversations about this, where it comes up, it's like, oh my gosh, yes, when you're in a group, I don't know why these things come up, but it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, if he ever had an affair, like, I don't think I could stay. That would just be the worst, blah, 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 right? I had no idea. And ladies, I still don't. My husband has never had an affair. Quite frankly, I don't know. And here's what I want to offer instead, because letting go of that non-negotiable feels really scary. It feels like something that we should have because that's what's going to keep us safe. But it's not true. And so here's what I want to offer instead that will actually keep you safe. Get to know yourself. Work on yourself. And then you won't need a plan for the non-negotiable. You won't need to live in fear of it ahead of time. Because if that time comes, you'll know how to tune inward to yourself to uncover what you truly want and why, and be able to move forward in that direction because you'll have all the tools that you need to do so. Does this make sense? This is why it's really powerful and super helpful to have a coach to help you do this, because our fears and our subconscious beliefs get in the way. So many of you listen to this podcast and you're trying to apply it to yourself in your own brain. The problem is that your own brain is with you, and your own brain is the thing that we're trying to work through. So if you really want to do this, you need to come work with me so that I can help you manage all of this. Because I guarantee you there are thoughts and feelings that are going on subconsciously that are masking the things that you don't want to see, okay? And that's what we need to uncover. And let me give you an example so that this kind of clarifies what I'm talking about, all right? And this is a personal example, okay? So I never really considered divorce during addiction. It never even crossed my mind. When my husband told me that he'd been addicted to pornography, it did not even occur to me. I never once had the thought of like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can handle this. Let's get divorced. No, I had the exact opposite thought. I was like, oh my gosh, we can do this. Let's fight it. No problem, right? And so it never even occurred to me through all the decade of addiction to even consider divorce, okay? But I had always had this fear. Even before I met him, I had this vague fear, not vague, but not specifically applied to him, just a general fear. That's better. A general fear, not a vague fear, a general fear of being cheated on. Okay. When if I was, it came to me as like a teenager. It's just when I heard about people getting cheated on, my thought was, I don't think I could handle that. I'm pretty sure that would break me. And I discovered why. Okay. So I had this general fear of being cheated on, and I discovered why. And it's what I made it mean about me. I attached it to my belief that I wasn't enough. Okay. So I was subconsciously had a belief about myself that I wasn't enough. Didn't even know this at the time, but I had attached it to my belief that I wasn't enough. So I just kind of had this fear in the background of my mind that what if, oh my gosh, someday I get married and my husband has an affair. I don't think I could handle that. Right now, I had that fear of I'm not enough. Once I processed that belief, once I removed all of that emotion from that belief, and then I retrained my brain so that I don't believe that anymore, that completely went away. Okay? Now then, fast forward in our marriage to about a year and a half ago, when my husband told me that he was attracted to other women and had been having feelings for other women, I realized something very different. I realized that I wasn't going to stay in this marriage if it stayed this way. And it was a calm, clean knowing. Okay? It wasn't a fear. It was no longer a fear that he was going to have an affair. And it was no longer attached to me. It was no longer attached to myself. I didn't make it mean anything about me. It wasn't because I believed I wasn't enough. It was a calm knowing, and it was nothing that I could have predicted. 100%. Absolutely not. I just knew. And I only knew it because of the work that I had done around it, changing my beliefs about myself and developing the skills to process emotion and look at my thoughts from a clean place in order to determine the next right decision for myself. That is how I was able to come to this realization. And it wasn't an ultimatum, right? I didn't give Rob a timeline and say, you must do X, Y, and Z before this certain amount of time, or show me that you're changing in order to prove it. I just knew. And we had a conversation about it. Rob and I were talking about this yesterday, actually. He was like, that was the most terrifying conversation we've ever had, was when you told me that you could leave and that you would if things didn't change. And again, it wasn't an ultimatum. I didn't say, hey, if you don't change, this is what's going to happen. I informed him and I said, I'm not interested in a relationship where this is what it looks like. And he did say it was terrifying because he knew I meant it. So again, I want to offer that is nothing that I could have predicted. If I had said when I was growing up, okay, here's what I am going to tolerate and here's what I'm not, then I never would have picked my husband finding other women attractive and being attracted to other women and all of these things to be the thing, okay? I definitely would have said something else. So here's what I want to offer with this, ladies, is I want to offer you space. I want to offer you the space to let go of your non-negotiables because if they are creating fear and anxiety that you are trying to live around. If your non-negotiables are running your anxiety and running your life, then they're not working for you. The whole point of a non-negotiable is to put you in a place where you know exactly what you will and will not tolerate. And again, ladies, if you go listen to one of the first podcast episodes I did, it's called Emotional Pain Tolerance. I want you to keep that in mind here because most of the time when we have non-negotiables, we think it's because of a moral value, right? We think, okay, well, I believe that that infidelity is wrong. I believe that a husband and wife should only be together and that he shouldn't cheat. And ladies, I completely agree with you. Okay. P.S. But if you think that, okay, then that means that if that ever happens, I won't tolerate it. What I want to offer is that we don't actually know. And the thing that we think we're not tolerating is not the thing we're not tolerating. Here's what I mean by that. We think that when we say, I will not tolerate an affair, we think we're not tolerating the affair. But what we're actually unwilling to tolerate or we don't know how to tolerate is the pain that comes from the affair. Does that make sense? our brain is so afraid of pain. And so it wants to set up these ultimatums in our brain in order to prevent us from feeling pain in the future. It's like, okay, I think that my husband having an affair would be the most painful thing. So I want to set up a non-negotiable where I say to myself that if he cheats, then I will leave. Ladies, if he has an affair, you're going to feel hurt even if you decide to leave. It will hurt before you leave. Does this make sense? You leaving isn't going to make it hurt less. And that's what I want to offer, ladies, is it's not about what you are willing to negotiate with yourself. It's about how can I allow myself, how can I develop the skills to always make the decisions that I want from a clean place to have the life that I want, even if there's pain attached, rather than from a place of trying to outrun pain. Now, I'm not saying that if your husband has an affair, you have to stay. Absolutely not. That is entirely up to you. But I want you to be able to make that decision for yourself. I want you to be able to make that decision without making it mean that you're not enough, without making it mean that you're not respecting yourself, without having to live in anxiety and fear of it happening because you're so afraid of what it would mean about you and how you would handle it. That's what I don't want for you. I want you to be able to make these decisions on purpose. Whatever decision is right for you, but you're not going to know what decision is right for you if you're only making decisions from a place of trying to outrun your fear. That is not the life I want for you. So today I want to offer that you can let go of your non-negotiables. And again, it doesn't mean that you're just going to be walked all over. You have boundaries. But letting go of your non-negotiables in a way that actually gives you hope for the future instead of living in fear of it. And I know this is not I should have said this at the beginning. This is not a beginner episode, ladies. This is an episode that takes some digesting, and I would love to help you with this. This is not a process that I recommend you do on your own. Come work with me so I can help you uncover where you've attached things, help you uncover what your non-negotiables are, help you unravel all of that fear and anxiety that you are circling right now, and actually live a life where you can make decisions cleanly from a powerful place where you are in control, not where you live in fear of your husband doing what you say is your non-negotiable because you think that if that happens, then you have to do X, Y, or Z, and you don't actually want to do X, Y, or Z. That's not the life we want for you. All right? Ladies, I love you so much. Come join me in my How to Eliminate Triggers Masterclass, and I will help you with all of this. I love you, ladies, so much, and I'll see you guys next week on a brand new episode. So take care. All right, ladies, if you enjoyed this podcast, then I want to invite you to come join my coaching program. This is where we take everything on the podcast and we actually get to apply it in order to transform your life. And I know that that is a big promise, but it's 100% true. On the podcast, it's like learning how to ride a bike. It's like reading a book, an instruction manual via audio on how to ride a bike. And my coaching program is where you actually ride the bike. And that is what creates the transformation. This is what actually enables you to go from point A to point B, to actually create the transformation that you are seeking. If you are feeling stuck, if you are feeling like you are loving everything, but you just can't see the end from where you are now, then I want to help you. Come work with me one-on-one. I have a lifetime access program, which means it doesn't expire. You come work with me. I will help you every step of the way and work with you personally to make sure that you get where you want to go. I can't wait to see you there. Head to my website today, joleneWynn.com, and sign up.